professor, physician, epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Moving from life on land to life underwater, where arguably all of life began. Hi, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy in Walden University. And in this in this video, I'm going to be going over Sustainable Development Goal number 14. And this is all about life underwater. So, life below water. Let's face it. The Earth is made up of approximately 70% water. So we need to do everything that we can to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. So this lists out some of these targets. There's targets that have been made, just like the other ones. 7 of them that have been made to just quickly looking at reducing marine pollution, protecting, restoring ecosystems, reducing ocean acidification, sustainable fishing, conserving coastal and marine areas, ending subsidies contributing to overfishing, and then finally increasing economic benefits from sustainable use of marine resources. Now, how do we make sure that these targets are truly met? Well, these are some additional targets that we can be using, means to achieve targets, to ensure that 14 truly does get met. Now, another comment that I would like to make, which you'll see later on in detail, is that some of these goals are actually set to the year 2020, which has already passed. So all of these are going to be reconsidered next year. So the last 3, which I haven't gone over, are the means to achieve targets. And so those have to do with increasing scientific knowledge, research and technology in ocean health, supporting small-scale fisheries, and then implementing and enforcing international law. Because a lot of ocean water is, after a couple of miles from the coast of a particular country, it's considered international waters. So a lot of the regulations are as a result of a combination and joint enforcement of policies. So in this segment of the video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about Sustainable Development Goal number 14, especially some of the information, additional information that they have in the SDG tracker. So just for a better definition of what we are trying to achieve through this SDG is that conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources. So our oceans, it's not just the temperature, but the circulation, chemistry, ecosystems, they play a fundamental role in making Earth habitable. So if any of these are disrupted or have something that is affecting something else, then this plays a role in how we can inhabit Earth. So our drinking water, rainwater, weather, climate, coastlines, much of our food, and even the oxygen in the air we breathe are all ultimately being regulated or provided by the ocean, by the sea, one way or another. So throughout history, oceans and seas have been vital conduits for trade and transportation. But I think people, because now that we're disconnected from the oceans, navigation does not take place through ships, then we don't have that awareness anymore. And so I think it's important for us to focus on this separately from all of the other sustainable development goals. Um, so just going into some of the specific targets of reducing marine pollution, beach litter is a big problem, especially in some of the countries with which are shaded dark. Beach litter, and I've seen in some of these countries as well. So it's important to be when you're going into the range of 100 million to 1 billion plastic beach litter, then there's something that needs to be done urgently in these places, but um, also other places. This was one that was set. So the first one, reducing marine pollution, index of coastal eutrophication and floating plastic debris density. So how turbid is the water from the eutrophication? So what happens is if there's excessive nutrients and an imbalance in nutrients, then certain algae and certain types of marine life which actually take away from a lot of the nutrients from other life start to bloom. And so you have an imbalance in the ecosystem. And so this one was set to actually 2025. So, and then there's chlorophyll A deviation. This goes into some of that turbidity, water turbidity that I was talking about, which blocks off sunlight for other life, and understanding that connection. You can actually take a look at the percent change as well. So the more chlorophyll you see, the more that there is kind of a there's a choking of the existing life, so that there's actually not as much biodiversity within marine life. Um, Protect and restore ecosystems. So that's why this part is so important. And this was by 2020. Sustainably manage and protect marine and coastal ecosystems to avoid significant adverse impacts, including by strengthening resilience and taking action for their restoration in order to achieve healthy and productive oceans. So countries using ecosystem-based approaches, this is the right way to ensure that biodiversity is maintained and ecological integrity. Two of the things that I've been talking about in terms of ocean turbidity. And if we take a look, there's some countries that seem to be using this approach, but this is part of the SDGs, especially 14.2.1. 14.3, looking at reduce ocean acidification, which means that the pH needs to go up. Acidification means a lower pH, and sometimes this gets confusing. If we want to decrease acidification, we want this trend to be reversed. So mean seawater pH, this is in Hawaii, and so there's more acidification going on here. And so this has real consequences on marine life. Sustainable fishing, making sure that we're not overfishing, going into the same spots, illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, destructive fishing practices, and use science-based management plans. Fish stocks within sustainable levels. Right now we're in the range of 32% over, in 2017 at least, 34% over exploitation. So 65% only is being biologically sustainable. And that overexploitation has actually increased since 2000 drastically. And so there needs to be much more efforts that are made in containing the maximum sustainable yield. So it's important to maintain coastal and marine areas, um, and conserve at least 10% of marine coastal areas. And this is something that needs to be done a little bit better here. So the share of marine territorial waters that are protected in the United States, Alaska, But then as we go down into looking at Mexico, Brazil, some of the South American countries, that goes down. And if we look in Europe, some countries are good at that, but then also Northern Africa. So just go through and see where there's more protected waters and where there's work to be done. And subsidies contributing to overfishing. This is another important area. So a degree of implementation. Where has there been implementation of international instruments aiming to combat illegal fishing? Canada has. There's no data on the United States. So some places there's not as much as there needs to be. Increasing the economic benefits for marine resources. So that's another one. Increasing scientific knowledge. So ocean science is a share of total research and development funding. There's definitely more that can be done in many countries. There's very few countries investing in marine technology resources. Supporting small-scale fishers. I think there can be more that can be done. In some countries, there's some protection, but small-scale fisheries need to be protected in order to sustain fishing and prevent overfishing. Implementation of international sea law. Um, there's some that are following, then others. China fully ratified and acceded this, but there's some that did, others that didn't. So just go through this and take a look at where there's still room to improve. And that goes through some data as it pertains to and a little bit more detailed explanation of all of the indicators that are pertaining to Sustainable Development Goal number 14. So just quickly bringing this all together, Sustainable Development Goal number 14 is all about life underwater. 70% of our Earth is made up of ocean water, and so it is now our job to make sure that these ocean waters are protected because, after all, our life depends on the life and health of the ocean. Thank you for listening.